again to Byron's Vego cooking show. As I promised in the previous episode, today I'm going to be making hot sauce. Now, hot sauce is a particular variety of chili sauce. The most famous example of this would be Tabasco sauce or Cholula, and there's a lot of different examples of hot sauce. Basically what hot sauce is, it's a simple chili sauce which is made out of just chilies. I'll be using these Mauritian chilies that I've grown in my garden. I've got about 500 grams of them there. You don't need to use quite that many, but I would recommend you use a minimum of say 200 grams, because if you use much less than that, then you probably won't get much sauce. I'm going to be using some raw sugar. I really like raw sugar. It has a rich caramelly flavour, so I prefer to use raw sugar for pretty much everything. Just some plain table salt and some white vinegar. And that's all that goes into hot sauce. So the first step, which is the most tedious step of the process, is cutting up these chilies. So I'm going to get started on that. Okay, so I've cut up all the chilies now. Now the most important thing to do now is wash your hands. Yeah, I can't tell you the amount of times I've accidentally touched my eyes or worse after cutting up chilies. Yeah, and it's the last thing in the world you want to do. It's really, really, really unpleasant. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the bathroom. What I actually do is I do it twice. Lather them up, wash them, and then repeat, because you can never be too sure. These ones in particular are really hot, but even fairly mild chilies, if you get them in your eye or worse, it's not nice at all. So that's the next step. Okay, so I've washed my hands. Now the next step is to get it all in the pot and start cooking it. I've got a saucepan here. Now this is what I like. Look, I've touched them again, so I'm going to have to wash my hands again. So this is what I like about these cheap, crappy plastic chopping boards, is that you can do that. That makes it really handy getting stuff in. Like I said, I'm going to have to wash my hands again. Okay, so I've added all the chilies. Next step is to add the salt. Don't be stingy with the salt. I'm going to add quite a lot of vinegar, probably a bit over a litre and a bit. And then the sugar, same thing, don't be stingy on the sugar, you want it nice and sweet. Okay, so that's all in there now, so I'm going to stick it on the hot plate. Put the lid on it. So I've put the lid on, I'm going to let it heat up, give it a stir a few times, and we're going to cook that for about 30 odd minutes, maybe a little bit longer depending on how it goes. And then I've got the blender there to blend it up once it's cooked. Okay, so that's been on the hot plate for about 30 minutes now. You can really smell it. The fumes coming off that stuff are pretty intense. So it's probably a good idea to open up a window or something while you do it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take it off the hot plate, and we need it to cool down, and then I'm going to blend it. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water in the sink, and I'm going to take the hot plate off and put it in the water, and that'll sort of help it cool a little bit quicker. And then I'm going to have to let it cool for maybe another half hour, and then I'll put it through the blender, and then you've got hot sauce. Now you can see The chilies are looking, a bit softer, which is good because we're going to blend them up. It's been long enough now for that lovely raw sugar to sort of go a bit caramelly and that nice richness to it, which is so good. So now I'm just going to put the pot in like this. Like I said, I'm going to let that cool for half an hour or so. Basically because the bottom of this blender is like plastic, so I don't really want to put stuff that's like boiling in there because it might misshape it or whatever. So just going to let it cool for a while, then we'll blend it up and we'll have some delicious hot sauce. Now I'll mention that I have these bottles here. Now these are just empty bottles from other types of hot sauce and chili sauce. One's from Frank's hot sauce, which is if you're a non-vegetarian and you like buffalo wings, Frank's apparently claims to be the original buffalo wing hot sauce. And this one's from an Indian chili sauce, and this one's just from a fountain hot chili sauce. Now, what I've done with these is I took the plastic lids off, and I boiled the bottles. I boiled them for about an hour because I wasn't exactly sure how long you're supposed to do it for. I think you only really need to do it for about 30-40 minutes, but I did it for a little bit longer just to be sure. And I put a little bit of vinegar in there because that's got some antibacterial properties and also helps to get the labels off and things like that. So yeah, basically I just filled up a saucepan with I filled up a big pot with water and put the bottles in there with some hot water and some vinegar, and then I just boiled that for, like I said, close to an hour. And so that they're disinfected now. And then what I did with the lids, because you don't really want to put the plastic lids in the boiling water, I gave them a good wash with some hot water and a cloth, and then I just put them in a little container with some vinegar, like as I said, because the vinegar's got some antibacterial properties, and then I left them soak in there for an hour or so, so that should all be nice and sterile now. So when it comes out of the blender, I can pour it straight into those bottles and put the lid on, and then we're good. And here's this is actually the last batch I made. I've still got some of those, so we should end up with something like that. Okay, so the mix has come down to room temperature, so the next step is to blend it up. Let's get those last bits of goodness out of there. Okay, so I've blended that really well. It took a couple of minutes, but it does take some time, but you really want to give it a really good blend. So I've done that now. So what I've done is I've set up like a measuring cup in the sink with the bottle in it, so any overflow catches in the cup and I can use it again. You don't want to waste it, it's good stuff. Look at that, that's good hot sauce. Okay, and there it is. It's all finished now, so as you can see I've made 2 big bottles and about 1.5 of the smaller bottles, 1 3/4. But this is a lot, right? This is it's hot sauce, so you're really using a few drops on a meal, and I mean if you're like me you use quite a bit more, but most people will just put a few drops on. It's really hot. But not stupidly hot, it's edible. It's nice and sweet as well. I really like my hot sauce to be very hot and also quite sweet. If you're like me and you really like chili sauce or hot sauce, this is much better than anything you buy in the shop, and I'd highly recommend you have a go at it. The sink's making a lot of noise, isn't it? Thanks for joining me once again, and I hope you have a crack at it and let me know how you go.